Easter here at St. Joseph University Church is always a wonderful day. It's a glorious day. We have ribbons streaming from the ceiling. We have fabulous music by our choirs and our guest musicians. We have spectacular flowers and candles glowing down the aisles. But most importantly, we have you. You're here as part of our huge congregations that gather to celebrate this day every year. Well, all of that is different this year, isn't it? Oh, we still have beautiful music. Thanks to Paul Weisenberger and his daughter Claire. We are social distancing here in the chapel, but they live together, so that's why they're standing so close. Huh? We have some lovely flowers here, and we have you here through the wonder of technology. But this Easter is so different from any other Easter we have ever celebrated. It is unlike any Easter of us could have ever imagined or could remember. There may have been other Easters in the past, perhaps during a wartime when things in some places ground to a halt. Plans were canceled, celebrations were scaled back, but this time, almost everything is canceled. Nothing is like it has ever been before. Or is that, in fact, the case? The Reverend Allison Lanza has a wonderful insight when she suggests that, in fact, perhaps we are closer today to the original experience of that first Easter than we could have ever imagined. She writes this: "The very first Easter was not in a crowded worship space with singing and praising. On the very first Easter, the disciples were locked in their house. It was dangerous for them to come out. They were afraid. They were living in a time of such fear and such despair. If they left their home, their lives and the lives of their loved ones might be at risk." Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like a description of the world we find ourselves living in today? A world no one of us could have expected or imagined even a few short weeks ago. Everything has changed, and it has changed globally. This is not just a localized crisis or tragedy. It is a crisis that affects the entire human race. Like those first disciples locked in their homes, we too wonder whether we will ever be able to live again. And yet, like them, it is precisely the fear and anxiety of this crisis that offers us the opportunity for a deeper and clearer perspective on what is truly important in life. Now that everything has ground to a halt, and the regular routines, the predictable patterns, and the everyday taken for grantedness of life have failed us, we stand before our lives and our world in utter amazement of how blind we have been to all this and to all that is truly important in our lives. We're like Tobit, that ancient Israelite in the scriptures, who was able to see after his long blindness only when his son Tobias smears fish gall into his eyes. Tobias warns his father that the cure will be painful, and it is. But then Tobit rejoices when he's able to see, when his sight is restored. So too for us, this cure for our profound blindness is painful. But this experience will enable us to see ourselves and others and the world around us as we have never seen them before. The resurrection we celebrate today is not something that just happened almost 2,000 years ago in a cemetery in Israel. That would be easy. It's about something that's happening here and now. It's about something that meets us in our world, in our lives today. Resurrection transforms what it means to be alive for us now. It is an invitation into tomorrow, into the future, into eternity. We don't have to wait to go to a place called heaven to begin this new life. No, the life that the risen Christ offers us is available to us here and now. It is radically living the life around us in a new and profound way. Preaching for Easter, I have often quoted in the past several years this brief sentence from the Franciscan theologian Sister Ilia Delio, who writes in her book, The Emergent Christ, "Resurrection is not an otherworldly future event. Rather, it is the this-worldly future breaking into the present moment through a radical choice for life." In other words, resurrection is an invitation to life here and now, to living in a new and radical way, a deeper way than we ever have before. In spite of the tension and tragedy surrounding us right now, we are dared to be filled with joy today because we know that our God will not leave us in darkness, in death, in decay. Everything has been redeemed. Resurrection breaks out everywhere. Darkness has been overcome by the light of God's eternal love. A love that creates all things, that liberates all things, that restores all things, that redeems all things. A love that conquers sin, that conquers darkness, that conquers even death itself. Yes, sisters and brothers, Easter is profoundly different this year. It is unlike any Easter we have ever celebrated, and perhaps because of that, it offers us the opportunity to find the deepest and truest meaning of this day. Like the first followers of Jesus, we too are locked in our homes, daring to believe that hope is on the horizon. In a few short weeks, or perhaps in a few months, like them too, we will experience Pentecost. The boldness of the Spirit of the living God will be given to us. We will open the locked doors of our homes and rush into the streets. We will gather together again, embracing, singing, and shouting the good news to the whole world that God brings life even out of death, and that God's love is everlasting. Happy Easter.